Hi, my name is Sandra White. Who listening has ever prepared or given and received a performance appraisal that by the end of it, you really questioned what value it brought? You felt like it was pointless, that your time and the person giving the performance appraisal, their time was just wasted. You got nothing out of it. That's what we're going to talk about today. How to write an effective performance appraisal. I manage about 20 employees at a local insurance company, and one of my main responsibilities is to write performance appraisals. This means on average, I'm writing about 20 performance appraisals a year. That's if I have no additional employees joining and I have nobody leaving and nobody getting promotions where that would make me have to write additional performance appraisals. Performance appraisals can be very time consuming. There's a lot that needs to go into them, and it would be so much easier for all managers if we didn't have to give them. But the question at hand is, how is that helping the employee? There are so many parts to a performance appraisal, but today let's focus on how to write an effective performance appraisal. As we discuss the items needed to write an effective performance appraisal, they aren't in any priority order. They can be done in any way that works best for you as long as it's all incorporated. So what that means is as we go through the slides, don't worry so much about the order that the items are going to be discussed. It's more so just that's how they went into the presentation. They each hold their own value and their own level of importance that needs to be completed. The first thing we're going to talk about is gathering feedback. There are two types of feedback we want to gather. We want to gather peer feedback, and we want to ask for the employee to do a self-evaluation of themselves. We know that as managers, we do not work as closely with the day-to-day work that our employees actually do. So why not work with the team members who do and the employees to get their opinions? Something to keep in mind to remember that when we're asking for peer feedback, we have to be able to keep this information confidential. You may have to change words or leave out names to make the comments more vague. If you don't go for confidentiality, this is going to discourage your teammates from providing future peer feedback, and it could cause conflict in an already working team. You'll also need to weed through that feedback and make sure that what's providing actually holds merit. We know that not all of our employees get together, work well together, and they don't all get along. So we want to make sure that we're using valid feedback. When asking peers to rate their fellow team members, you want to provide some guiding questions to help them along the way to give you the information that you're really looking for. So some good examples of those questions would be list areas where the employee is being effective. Give examples where the employee could improve upon certain things, skills, tasks, interpersonal relationships, those types of things that the employee can work on and that the feedback of the team members is tangible. Melanie Gallant from SABA blog shares that self-appraisals is a great way to engage employees in the review process, while also giving you insight to how they perceive themselves. Give them the same document that you are going to rate them on is also going to allow the employee to see what they're going to be rated on and take away any element of surprise that's going to come about when they get the document or when you're sitting in that one-on-one time to do their peer feedback or the review feedback. They're not going to go, oh man, I never thought I was going to get rated on that. So giving them what's actually going to be used so that they can see what they're going to be rated on. And you can also see how they're rating themselves. It gives you that inside vision of perception to say, how does the employee actually value themselves and what do they think they're doing well? Where do they think they need development? You can then also take that self-evaluation feedback and do a comparison with your own when you're giving that performance appraisal. Show where you rated differently between the two of you and really talk about those differences. The next thing we're going to talk about is being honest. Honesty is the best policy. A website that's called forconstructionpros.com states, remember why you're writing performance reviews. You're writing them to help your employees learn and grow. That's the whole purpose of why we do performance appraisals. If we had every team member is working to the best of their ability and nobody wants to go anywhere, nobody needs to learn anything different, everybody's just fine with status quo, we wouldn't do performance appraisals. But we're really doing them to help our employees learn and grow. So how can they do that if we don't provide the truth to them? We can't cower under blankets and hide away from the truth just because the conversations may be uncomfortable. Being honest is going to include providing specific examples. Make sure that this allows the employee to bring the pieces together. So as you're providing examples, you can't be so vague and just say, you don't get along with your coworkers. Well, let's talk about that. How are some things that we've seen that happen? So when you and Johnny were conversing the other day, I noticed that your body language was shifted and, you kept rolling your eyes and you were shutting down the conversation. Those would be the types of examples to show and to be able to give them that feedback where they can go, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. That links back. Honesty is hard. It's hard, especially when the feedback contains a lot of developmental areas. So choose your words carefully. Sammy Kamarla at B2B staff writer says, you don't want to discourage them from even trying. Sammy also states to end the review on a positive note, that can be done by simply encouraging your employees and letting them know that what they do, you appreciate. The final element we're going to discuss today is providing improvement opportunities. So we know in performance appraisals, there's multiple ways to rate employees and then to give examples on how-tos, meaning how to do this or how to do this and get this way better or differently to do things differently. There are several ways to rate a performance appraisal, but the most common used is by Richard A. Morin of Chair at Looky-Loo on LinkedIn. He lists 3 very specific rating criteria, which is exceeds expectations, which means, man, you're really working your tail off. Meets expectations, you're running with the pack. You're just going with the flow. You're not striving for that extra piece. You're just right at an even keel. You're doing what's expected of you. And improvement needed, which means to him, in trouble. Self-assessment is needed. We need to talk about things. If someone is not receiving a meets or exceeds expectation rating, giving examples on how they can reach that next rating category is very pertinent in a performance appraisal. You have to say, to be meeting expectations, you must do A, B, C. You have to spell it out. You have to give them goals to work towards and to strive to meet that, because nobody tries to be a bad employee, right? We all work really hard at what we do. So everybody needs to be able to give an example of how can I do something different? How can I grow? How can I be better? And along with providing those expectations, again, we have to be honest. We have to give honest feedback. You can't just say, well, if you talk to Susie, then you're going to get meeting expectations. You have to state the comments of, you have to work on your communication skills. You have to work on your collaboration skills. So in conclusion, we reviewed 3 ways to help write an effective performance appraisal. We talked about feedback, we talked about honesty is the best policy, and we talked about providing examples for improvement opportunities. I hope that what I've shared with you today will help you write an effective performance appraisal. Thank you very much and have a good night.